2020 has it's really been a year for the record books, and I think we can all agree that these are unprecedented times. What has typically in the past taken months or years to change has evolved in just a matter of a few short weeks, based on everything that's happening in the marketplace right now. And so we really set out to say, knowing that consumer viewing behaviors, that advertising behaviors have shifted so much, is what was true and relevant just a few short months ago still true and relevant today. So we commissioned a study. It's a 2020 Consumer Attitudes on Personalized Ads. And we really wanted to understand not so much if personalization is still relevant, which it is, but what are the new features, what are the new functionalities, what are the new channels and devices that we need to consider today that maybe were a nice to have or an afterthought historically.
So tell us about use case and how people are using the platform.
Yeah, so today we work with brands. We work with some of the largest brands in the world. Our heritage and our DNA is really in video, so we do tend to work with advertisers that have a heavy footprint in television. And I think what's nice about that is we all know that TV is converging. We've been talking about the future of TV and the shift towards connected television and streaming for quite some time. And what we've seen as of late is that shift has accelerated even faster than we could have imagined. And with that shift, brands are trying to understand, what can I do with TV now that I couldn't before? And they're starting to really embrace a lot of the functionality that has been typically reserved for digital. So addressability, interactivity, dynamic content, and leveraging that to think about how do I leverage TV beyond just a big brand awareness spot, and how do I start to connect the dots to say, hey, this can be more than awareness. This can drive to retail. This can drive to a QR code or drive to a website, and really starting to incorporate some of those different elements into what has historically been more of a one-way means of communication.
So how do you close the loop with performance to sort of show the results? What's involved in terms of creating different versions, and from a technical standpoint, and what's the challenge for the marketers to kind of play in this game?
Yeah. So the first piece around how do you measure, how do you tie things back to business goals? That's a question that I don't think anyone's frankly landed the plane on that entirely, but it's about progress, not perfection. We've started to see a lot of new formats enter the marketplace that are starting to create steps towards getting to that closing the loop, and truly understanding the ROI of these types of efforts. So things like SMS texting, right? I'm watching an ad. QSR is a vertical that's really embraced that. And you may say, hey, that new special offer from my favorite fast food company looks great. I'm going to go ahead and engage and have a coupon texted to me so I can fulfill that. We're starting to see a lot of QR codes getting incorporated into ads where you can look at something and say, that's interesting, I want to learn more, scan on your phone, and actually close the loop between how do I get from a TV screen to a website, by incorporating some of that functionality as well. So some of these new formats, I think, are getting us further down the path of getting to ROI. I'd also say, if I kind of zoom out and think about the way that we've historically measured TV, reach and frequency is an area that we've really invested in at Innovid, and starting to think about, as an audience, as a viewer, you often aren't delineating between, am I watching this program on Hulu, or am I watching it on broadcast television? And so as brands and as marketers, we often think about, how do I drive reach across an audience, regardless of whether that content was streamed or not. So a lot of what we've been focused on over the course of the last year is really connecting those dots and understanding, from a reach and frequency perspective, how do linear TV and connected TV work together? Is there overlap? Is there duplication? And then also, once we start to unpack CTV, getting into really granular insights and details on the nuances of various publishers within that space.
And how do you work with the creative teams at the brands, at the agencies? How does this how's the soup get made?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of different methodologies and thought processes around this. When we look at display and video specifically, right, these are not channels that are new. They've been around forever. And the creative agencies have their tried and true tools that they prefer to use to actually design. So one of the approaches that we've taken at Innovid is really to focus on plugins. So rather than trying to force people out of the tools that they know and love and force them into something that's native to our platform, how do we connect to Adobe? How do we connect to the tools that they're already using to allow them to design the way that they always have, but then automate the development work, automate the rendering work, and make it really easy to say, okay, I have this beautiful design that I now want to permutate across a variety of different variables, audiences, and data points. And we've created integrations and connections that allow you to do that in a very seamless manner. So it's we're going to them versus trying to get people to come to us.
Great, great. Yay.
So many times people are trying to recreate the wheel and we're like, you know what, those tools are great. And
No, that's
we
great.
don't need to rebuild those tools. One of our big mantras, right? If you think about the world of walled gardens and all the silos that have been popping up and continue to pop up in this marketplace, we've really been focused on how do we create an open ecosystem? How do we make sure that connectivity and interoperability are at the heart of what we do? And it's something that we continue to push and focus on.